20 minutes ago.
And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
The Justice Department now opening a grand jury investigation against New York Attorney General Letitia James, who campaigned on a promise to, quote, get Trump. James has hired prominent defense attorney Abby Lowell. He said this on Saturday.
I don't think there's been an attorney general that has been willing to carry out the president's wrongdoing as much as Pam Bondi has since, I'd say John Mitchell with President Nixon. So this was something he announced, and it's happening as per the game plan he announced.
Former prosecutor Trey Gowdy talks about what a grand jury can and cannot do.
A grand jury can do everything you wish a congressional committee could do. They can go get your phone records, your emails, your texts. They can offer immunity to people. I just find it so ironic that Abby is talking about his client being targeted. She literally ran for office on the promise of targeting Donald Trump. So, look, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Let's see if she was dumb enough to put emails in there, hey, let's go after him for this, for undervaluing property, even though no one suffered a loss.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is sticking to his plan to take over Gaza City, despite outrage around the world and in his own country. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee accuses Hamas of hindering any talks of peace.
Every time Hamas says they're coming to the table, says they're open to it, and then they arrive and say, no, there's some other things we've got to have. And what they have to have always are unreasonable, and the result has been a stalemate. The next move really is one that Hamas has to make. They're either going to have to walk away, disarm, and let the hostages go, or they're going to have to face the consequences of an Israeli government that is just fed up.
Completely political and a dereliction of justice. That's how a pro-life group is describing a situation where a man was caught on camera beating two pro-lifers, only to receive a get-out-of-jail-free card. Chris Woodward has more.
The incident happened in Baltimore in May of 2023. Prosecutors wanted a lengthy sentence for 28-year-old Patrick Bryce. He was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree assault and reckless endangerment. The Baltimore Banner reports that Bryce thought one of the elderly victims made a racial remark, adding, quote, I just snapped. Instead of prison time, Bryce was ordered to undergo anger management classes, be screened for drugs and alcohol, and face home detention for 1 year. Noah Brandt of Live Action.
Literally, one of the victims was knocked unconscious. The other suffered broken facial bones and permanent eye damage. This was not a trivial incident, and that's how this judge is treating it.
Tom Brecka of the Thomas More Society, the law firm representing the victims, was also upset with the sentencing. He told AFN this was an act of cowardice and cruelty and sheer mayhem, adding, this crime deserves far more serious consequences than a get-out-of-jail-free card and a 1-year home detention that amounts to nothing more than a slap on the wrist. I'm Chris Woodward.
U.S. stocks are drifting around their record highs today as Wall Street waits for an upcoming update on inflation. More news available online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Peel.
Every day, AFA offers biblical insight on issues that others aren't willing to touch in the hopes that you'll become a world changer. That's why we're offering an in-depth worldview training course called Activate. 13 different professors teaching 18 sessions, all available online, including a printed workbook to help you apply what you've learned and 1-year access to AFA streaming content to give you even more resources. Find out more about Activate and sign up today at activate.afa.net.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman. president of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR on this Monday, August the 11th, 2025. Again, as always, we appreciate you listening. We know you have many listening choices, and you've decided to be with us here on AFR this morning. Good morning, Ed Vitagliano.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Good morning to you, Tim.
All right, before we get into the news of the day, we have some good news to share.
Good news,
yes,
amen.
Great news, in fact. Tim Todd is with us now from Louisiana. Tim is with Revival Fires Ministry, and as you heard all last week, we promoted the Truth for Youth Bible campaign for teenagers all over America to order these Bibles for free. They were paid for by donations by people to Tim Todd's ministry and also AFR and AFA listeners. And Tim joins us to give us an update from West Monroe. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Tim. Good to hear from you, and great report.
Okay, first of all, it was this day last week that we announced the campaign. It's an annual campaign that we do where we try to get as many Bibles across America to teenagers who will give them to their peers who don't know the Lord. I mean, we're trying to evangelize here. And so what was our goal and what was the final number?
Tim, the goal was 65,000, and as of Sunday afternoon, we crossed over 65,000. This morning, we were at 65,105. And so we were able to meet our goal, and young people across America going to be giving Bibles to their friends in school that don't know Jesus, and we're going to see a great harvest of souls, and we greatly appreciate the partnership with American Family Radio, American Family Association, and people across America to help us get the Word of God into the hands of young people all over America.
I do think that deserves a hand clap. Amen, brother?
Amen. This was our 25th year
Amen.
Doing this with for the Truth for Youth campaign.
And this was a new record in terms of numbers of Bibles in any particular year, right, Tim?
Yes, it is. And as of now, Tim, we've given away together 1,365,000 Truth for Youth Bibles in the past 25 years. This was the silver anniversary, and so thankfully, yes, we were able to cross over and have a record-breaking number of 65,105, and so we're thanking the Lord and thanking American Family Radio for the partnership and people across America to help us get this taken care of and get the Word of God into the hands of young people.
Well, Tim, I know this is your heart. Your heart as an evangelist is to see people come to Christ. Just share briefly, because these Bibles, you have the New Testament plus at the front of it 100 pages of comics. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Last week when we had you on, that we asked the question we normally do. How did you come up with this idea? Because it's just a God thing to have this idea. How did that come about? I mean, for you to think of a way for young people to be interested in it and then to give it away.
Yes, Ed, in 91, my dad, Cecil Todd, and I had a meeting with the Minister of Education in Russia over all of the public schools, and they gave us the approval to put Bibles as textbooks in the hands of young people in Russia. And they asked me personally, what kind of a Bible project does America have for the public schools of your nation? And I had to tell them, Russia put God in school, but America kicked God out. And I came home troubled about what's going on in our public school systems here in America. We kicked off, then several years later, the national the Truth for Youth Bible, and I was looking at the Chick publications. You remember?
Yes,
Jack
I remember those old
Chick
tracks. Yeah.
Yes, way back then I contacted Jack and I said, look, we'd like to do something like this. And so the first year that we used Truth for Youth Bibles way back was with Chick Publications, and we started developing our own comic stories, and of course now we've got full-fledged and the Truth for Youth Bible comics are just absolutely powerful. But I was looking at the Chick publications and thought, our young people need to know the truth about these things, the different subjects that he was covering. And so we developed our own. And from that to where we're at now, we're thankful for what God has been doing.
Amen. Well, thank you, Tim. We appreciate it very much. And take care. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, appreciate you very much, and thank you again for helping us reach a generation of young people with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you, Tim.
And thanks to our listeners, to those who are able to give, or who are able to take part in this, to get that Bible, that free Bible, into the hands of their teenagers, anyone from 13 to 18. So as many teenagers as you had in your house, or how many grandkids you have between those ages, you asked for the Bible. So we're grateful for our listeners taking this to heart.
Yeah, and the way that we're able to pay for it is Tim Todd, who you just heard from. He lives in West Monroe, Louisiana. He's a Revival Fires Ministry. He's a traveling evangelist.
Yes.
And so when he goes out, he takes offerings throughout the year.
Yeah.
From the churches, primarily Assembly of God churches. And so he'll raise money that way. And then we help a little bit too here, so because it's our mission too, right? So we help, but he raises the majority of the money throughout the year through the offerings, and so that way we're able to have this project, but we don't ask anybody for any money,
right?
Related,
and we dedicate a week on American Family Radio, and make sure
Truth
people
for Youth Bible Week.
Yes, make sure people know about it. I just say, I just personally, I know you guys, you and Fred are very proud of this in a Christian way, that AFA and AFR takes salvation and the condition of people's souls so seriously.
Well, it's the most important thing.
Yeah.
We have a list of priorities, right?
Yeah.
On what your mission goals are here, and ours is spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ and having seen people's lives changed. Yes, we talk about a lot of other things like we do every day on this show, but the most important thing in anybody's individual life is their relationship to God, because as the Bible says, we're just here for a brief time.
Yeah.
And the rest of our time is eternity, right?
Right.
And God says, come to me for life everlasting.
Yeah.
Amen. And so we proclaim that truth. That's what Jesus said, folks. We're only telling you what Jesus said.
Yeah.
Jesus said he is life, and life abundantly and life eternally. Amen. All right, preach it, Tim. Thank you. I will.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I wanted to just real quick, if you'll indulge me.
Absolutely.
Will you indulge me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll indulge. We'll indulge.
I know in the Middle Ages, indulgence has got you in trouble, right? With some people, like Martin Luther and others.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes.
That's another story.
It is another story. The Protestants are all cheering and the Catholics are all groaning.
I think some of the Catholics had a little problem with it too. Maybe they didn't say much of the indulgences. Anyway, that's we'll talk about that another day. I was able to with my wife Allison. We were able to go out to out from where we are in Tupelo to Yellowstone National Park, and also the Teton National Park, which is just south of there. And spent a few days there last week, if you're wondering where I was. And I was traveling around trying to avoid grizzly bears.
Which you actually saw.
I did. We did.
Yeah.
We did. It was. Have you ever been? You've been, right?
I've been. I was 8 years old, though.
When you went to the Yellowstone?
I was with my family.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me.
Your dad and your mom and
yes.
your sisters and
yes.
such. What about you, Fred? You
have not been to that area of the States.
Yeah. But anyway, it's the oldest national park. Yellowstone is, and it's just I say it's like nature's Disney World.
Good way of putting it.
That's how I would describe it. And so it was just breathtakingly beautiful, like you've seen in pictures and you might imagine, and it's massive. I don't know how many acres it is, but I was telling our staff this morning, I'm going to say that if you take our state here in Mississippi, if you were to put the Yellowstone National Park, it would take up a third of the state. It's that big.
Wow.
And also, if you want to get lost,
That's a good place to do.
Never to be heard from again. Go out west, my friend.
Oh,
especially out there. But we just drove. I said, you've heard people say, what do you say? You go out to no man's land.
Yeah.
Well, this really is
no man's.
There's no man's land. But anyway, it was a wonderful trip. It was brief, but we were able to see. I always wanted to see the Grand Teton Mountains, and that's a national park. And Jackson Hole, Wyoming, went there for a day or two. So.
And you had mentioned to our staff this morning that you and your wife Allison and trying to plan somewhere to go this year.
We did.
You wanted to get out of Mississippi because of the heat in August, and you said mission accomplished because what was the temperature overnight?
38.
You were camping.
Yes, we were camping in Yellowstone, right next to Yellowstone. It was 38 degrees and then it was 43 the next night. So, yes. Also, I went outside and I said I took a video for my brother.
Yeah.
Because as you say, we live in the South, so it's heat and humidity.
Right.
Right. Which are legendary.
Yes.
Right. So, but I took a video. I said, "You're not going to believe this." I said, "I'm making you this video at night because there's no crickets."
Because of the cold at night, overnight?
I don't know if they have crickets in Yellowstone ever, or in that part of the country. Fred, you may know. Do you have crickets in Canada?
I do not remember a cricket problem.
That's right. Well, I mean, but it's weird. If you start, in where we live here in Mississippi, you start hearing crickets in April. Or March, probably.
And then there's frogs and everything else.
Yeah, but that cricket noise is just always in the background. It's like living by an airport.
Yes.
Huh?
And you're always hearing the flyovers.
If you live anywhere out in any kind of near the rural area, you're going to hear, probably in town too, you're going to hear crickets.
Yeah.
But
it was totally silent?
Total silent, like being on the moon. I mean, it's like crazy. It's weird. If you're not, I'm like taking this video with my brother. Hey, listen to this. Listen to nothing.
Well, people who live in cities like New York, when they go somewhere where they're out of the city, they say the quiet is almost loud because they're used to subways and cars honking.
Oh, that's a good point.
Sirens.
Yeah.
And then they get out where it's quiet and they go, it's almost louder because they notice
the silence is deafening.
Yes,
silence is deafening, sort of thing. But anyway, I know Fred, you lived, in
British Columbia,
in Western Canada, so it's similar type terrain there.
Beautiful.
But we did see a grizzly bear.
Mm-hmm.
Driving down the road, my wife yanks the car off the side of the road. She was driving. I gave her a chance to drive.
Yeah,
the little woman.
It's nice. The little.
Gave her a little chance. Gave her a chance to drive, prove herself.
Allison's.
I'm gonna get killed when I get home.
If she's listening.
Yeah, if she's listening. I'm just teasing.
No,
I drive. I'm family. I drive 90% of the time. She drives 10% of the time. But anyway, it was her 10%.
Yeah.
And so she pulls the car off the side of the road because we were driving between Yellowstone and Teton.
Yeah.
Jackson Hole, and sure enough, there was a big grizzly bear on the side of the road, about to cross. And then she pulled the car over, and the grizzly bear turned around and went back the other way.
Scared her.
It scared the grizzly bear.
Yeah.
I don't know what scares a grizzly bear, but that did her squealing the wheels and yanking over the side of the road did it.
And you said, you told the staff this morning that Allison prayed that God would allow her to see a grizzly bear, and a moose, and she got to see both.
Yes. I don't know if that's an appropriate prayer or not, but it worked.
God can say no.
God can say no. We did. So we saw a grizzly bear in the wild.
Yeah.
Briefly. And a moose, like Rocky and
Bullwinkle.
Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Bullwinkle.
We saw Bullwinkle.
You didn't see Rocky the flying squirrel?
I don't care. I see
plenty of squirrels.
I see Bullwinkle. Anyway, that was pretty amazing. You've seen,
and you saw an elk.
Yes.
I saw an elk. Yeah, I heard of elks.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've hit a moose.
Ooh. Are you serious?
We were driving back from Nova Scotia to British Columbia. It was about 3:30 in the morning in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia.
What? Excuse me just a minute, Fred. Driving back
yes.
from Nova Scotia.
Yes.
That's like driving from Florida to Seattle.
That is right.
Okay, go ahead.
And I've done that before, too. I like to drive. So this was 1994. So it's 3:30 in the morning, pitch black, August, I think it was. We round this corner, and this moose is moving from left to right across the highway. and I mean, it filled the windshield. And she was on the move. The car just clipped her back ankle, I guess it would call it. And I had proof by the time I got to BC, because I went to get the car repaired. There was a little bit of damage on it. There was moose hair still in part of the grill.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
If you had a moose head on, you're not going to survive that.
No, thank God for that. She was on the move.
Yeah.
And she was. I just caught that bank partner of her.
Wow.
She went off in the woods, so we didn't worry too much about her.
Yeah.
But we just
nothing you could do anyway.
We just took a couple of breaths.
Yeah.
Because if you hit a moose, they're so tall, the main body will come right through the hood.
It would have been a mess.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Yeah.
The funny part about that is, before we left home early that morning, I said, it's really dark out there, Dad. What about moose? He says, there's no moose here in Cape Breton. You don't have to worry about that.
Famous last words.
We called him up a couple of hours later. Dad, there's at least one.
Oh, me. All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Speaking of dealing with wildlife, President Trump's announcing a crackdown on Washington, D.C., right?
As we sit here, he is still at the podium there, major news conference at the White House. And we're going to play a bit of this news conference in just a second. But here's the bottom line, folks. President Donald Trump has declared a public safety emergency in Washington, D.C. Basically, he says crime is out of control. Among other things, he says the crime rate in Washington, D.C. is worse than in places like Bogota, Colombia, and Mexico City. He's already deployed people, FBI agents, drug enforcement people in the district during the weekend. Apparently, arrests have already been made. But amongst other things, the entire D.C. Police Department has now been turned over to the Attorney General of the United States. She is now in charge of the police department in Washington, D.C.
Would she be in charge of charging criminals too? Because that's been part of the problem.
Well, there's a
DC.
district attorney there,
Okay.
Janine Pirro. I want to play part of this because the news conference is still unfolding as we're talking here. But here's a little bit as the president was making this announcement this morning, cut 14.
And we're here for a very serious purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something.
So there's more than 2 minutes there, and it's, as I say, the news conference is still happening. A lot of this has been prompted by recent crimes. There was a young man that was badly injured last week, I think it was. He worked for Doge.
Right.
And he was walking along the street with, I think, a girlfriend at night, and a bunch of thugs attacked him. He managed to get his girlfriend in the car.
Well, he was trying to help. We talking about I think he was trying to help a woman who was being attacked.
Yes, he was there. There was the intern that was murdered in June.
About a month, yeah.
And the president went through a bunch of crimes. He said something interesting. The president went off script. Gee, that's a surprise. But he said,
that's when it's the most fun.
Yes. He said there's been arguments made that crime rate is going down in this city. He said, we're investigating that because we believe somebody's been playing with the numbers in D.C. to make it look better than what it actually is. They've already started to remove the homeless. And at one point, he said, I'm sick and tired of the way our law enforcement is treated. He said the ones FBI agents were patrolling on the weekend, National Guard was patrolling on the weekend already in there. And he said people were spitting in their faces. And I've told these individuals to tell these thugs, you spit, I hit. That was a quote from the president.
Well, spitting in someone's face is assault. So you're asking for it. If you spit in, anyone's face, you're liable to get a punch in the nose. But if it's someone who's law enforcement, or I'm not sure how you categorize the National Guard troops, I guess they would be considered law enforcement. But you're going to get hit. You're going to get arrested. It's not going to go well.
The Washington, D.C. is a federal city. Okay. That's the reason it's in the District of Columbia. It's not a state. So it's controlled by the federal government and is meant to be that way so that it would be never influenced by politics, okay, by domestic politics. It's supposed to be neutral. But it is ultimately under the control of the federal government. Who's in charge of the federal government? Well, it's the commander-in-chief. It's the president of the United States. It's the CEO of the federal government. So he does. Well, I'm saying this to say he has the constitutional authority, as he cited, to do what he's doing now. I'll also say this. Listen, I've been to Washington, D.C., and like many of you, I've been many times. I've been to Washington, D.C. dozens and dozens of times over the years, and I've felt safe if you stay in the tourist areas. You stay around the Capitol, you stay in the mall, you stay around the White House, the other monuments. Arlington, I felt perfectly safe. Arlington, Virginia, just staying across. So, but it's not funny. But if you're often told, don't go past this street. Okay, so you get about 6 blocks or 8 blocks past the Capitol, then you're getting into a dangerous neighborhood. And it's that way through a swath of our nation's capital. Sometimes that crime does bleed over.
Yeah.
It does bleed over, like with that intern that got shot. And
you're talking about, his name is Edward Korstein?
Yeah.
The 19-year-old former Department of Government Efficiency staffer.
Yeah. Well, there was 2 different ones. There was the Doge kid. He was beat up. He was trying to help a lady who was being assaulted, and he was beat up by a gang. And then there was or at least a group. And then there was the other one who was shot and killed, the intern.
Yes.
Shot and killed at an apartment not too far from the Capitol, right?
Yes.
So,
and
anyway.
It has been, there's been a little kid who died in a crossfire on a carjacking.
Well, listen, this is going on in big cities and mid-sized cities, but especially by big cities, I'm going to classify that as 1 million people up. That's a big city to me across America, and the crime is out of control, and it's everywhere. I hate to say it, in Democrat-run cities, that's just
across the board. Democrat-run cities.
Across the board, crime is out of control.
Yes.
And people live in fear. Businesses are leaving, or closing down, or shuttering.
And a lot of that is due to the policies of those in charge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues on American Family Radio.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Some time ago in Brentwood, New York, Ms. Raymond Bates found her 2 youngest children, Deborah and Andrew, eating tranquilizer pills. Knowing the seriousness of this, she immediately asked their older brother, Timothy, if he had eaten any of the pills. He said that he had not. Ms. Bates rushed the children to the hospital, and Deborah, age 2, and Andrew, 4, both had their stomachs pumped. Timothy, denying that he had eaten any of the pills, did not have his stomach pumped. It was a crucial situation for Ms. Bates, for the pills that the children had eaten could have very easily killed them. It was of utmost importance that she be told the truth by her children. To have lied in a situation like that could have meant death for any of them. You know, there are many situations like that in life. Several times our physical life depends on whether or not we're willing to tell the truth, face the facts. Failure to do so will often mean death or serious injury. But deeper than this is the fact that we must be willing to tell the truth about our intangible being also. And here is where most of us are willing to try to get by on a half-truth, sometimes even a flat lie. We haven't been honest with ourselves here. We've told ourselves that everything is okay, it'll work out all right. So we've gone on ignoring our inner being, pretending that there will be a time to take care of that. We've even built up a conception that there's a great Santa Claus in the sky who will bring us all everything we need at the right time. We've lied to ourselves in telling ourselves that we have no obligation any higher than ourselves. We have fooled ourselves into thinking that if there is life after death, everybody will enjoy it equally and not just a pious few. When I break a bone and it needs setting, I don't dare fool myself into thinking that it'll be all right if I left it alone and everything will work out okay by itself. If I have cancer, I don't go around telling people that there's a great fairyland cancer doctor who will cure me. When I had my heart attack, I didn't ask for a knife that I could operate on myself. No. And all of these things, I told myself, and I tell myself, the truth, that I need help from beyond myself, from someone whose business it is to help in those situations. To do less in the spiritual realm would be equally as foolish. Don't make the mistake with your spiritual life that Timothy Bates made with his physical life. When Ms. Bates went to check on the children the next morning, Deborah and Andrew, who had their stomachs pumped, were fine. Timothy, age 8, was dead. Honesty is the best policy in all matters.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Jeremiah 29:13.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on this Monday, August the 11th. Thank you for listening to American Family Radio. The big news today, one of the biggest stories today we were talking about earlier, is President Trump is even now speaking at a press conference at the White House, announcing he's calling up the National Guard and going to take over the law and order in the nation's capital, our federal city. And he has the constitutional authority to do so, and he cited it. And this is because of rising crime levels, and he wants to keep the streets safe in Washington, D.C. I mean, you don't want that to turn into a place nobody wants to go to. So he's saying that he's going to use the National Guard, 1,000 National Guardsmen, right? And take over the city police.
Yep. I remember going for an event in D.C., and I went with my wife, and to save money after landing at the airport, we took the subway to the hotel. And
the metro is what they call it.
The metro.
That's what they call it.
And I wouldn't do that today. I would not take the metro.
Yeah.
Just because of the sense that it's just not safe on I used to call the subway, but the city's
subway
not,
in New York is different than D.C., but in the sense that it's even more dangerous, I think, in New York. But I'm
talking about how the city's changed.
Yeah.
How D.C. has changed over the last 4 or 5 years.
All right. So anyway, he's announcing that today. What that looks like exactly, we'll find out in the coming days and weeks. But I don't know. Has the mayor up there responded yet?
The mayor, our newscast this morning was quoting the mayor as saying agreeing he does have that right. The president does have that right to do exactly what he's doing. I'm a little curious right now about, he says he's the homeless problem he's going to deal with. They're going to move the homeless, and all I've seen reported somewhere else. I'm anxious to see, okay.
He said far from the capital.
Yeah, okay. So where are you moving them? Are you going to move them across the Potomac? Is it going to, one of those things to become somebody else's problem? Is he going to house them somewhere? And I mean, Republicans have certainly been condemned Democrats when they put them up in hotels.
Yeah.
All of that sort of thing. So that's one part of the story that I'm anxious to get more details on.
In inner cities, it is the homeless problem it's really sad. I mean, it is a public safety issue.
Yeah.
It's terrible when you see these. Many of them are just mentally ill, and they're just. But because of that, some of them are dangerous.
Yes.
And they're threatening. And I don't know what you do with homeless people. Do you round them up and take them to a facility somewhere that many of them probably need to be in institutions, for mentally ill people. But if they're violent, they won't take them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or someplace.
And there's just usually not enough room.
Or if they're ongoing drug addicts.
Yeah.
Many of them are drug addicts and alcoholics, but that makes them even more dangerous oftentimes because they have to get their fix. So they commit acts of violence to get the money to get. It's a bad problem, a really bad problem. The homelessness.
Yeah.
A lot of cities, the best way to do it is to not ever let them set up shop, so to speak, in the first place. You keep them moving
because those encampments.
Encampments. You don't want
size.
encampments, homeless encampments. You don't want that. You got to keep them moving. I know that, and you can't solve every problem because it has to be the will of the person involved that wants to get help. And sometimes they don't want to get help. They don't want responsibility. They want to sleep on the. It sounds like nobody would ever want to. No, some of them have said, "I don't want any job.
Right.
I don't want to work. I don't want any responsibility." So.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of them are either alcoholics, drug addicts, or they're mentally ill people. All right, so that's the big story. President Trump is still talking. That's a surprise. Again, I cease to be amazed at the energy level of a 78-year-old man. Huh?
Yeah,
I don't know if he ever sleeps. Huh?
We can see him. We have 4 networks up on a TV screen here in our studio, and he is not. His energy doesn't look like it's flagging. He's mentally sharp. He's gesturing. He's back and forth with all of these reporters, and he is vigorously defending what he wants to do in D.C.
Do you think he sleeps? Really?
I think
because I've never seen any evidence of it. Have you ever seen him nodding off? Maybe in one of the court trials.
No, I have. Well, there was one time where they said he was falling asleep. He seems to get like 3 or 4 hours sleep, and there are people who seem to operate on that, and that seems to be. I don't know if he takes naps during the day. I
can get by on 6.5.
I can get by on 6 or 6.5. If I get below that.
But I don't think he goes. I think he goes to sleep between when, like midnight and 5, maybe.
That seems to be his. I would not be surprised to find out that he gets 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night.
Anyway,
maybe he crashes.
I don't see
for real,
like superhuman or something. I mean, I think we all need to consider switching over to the Big Mac diet. Huh? Am I right? Big Mac and fries?
Big Mac and fries and Diet Coke. Hey, I've already got the Diet Coke thing going.
Not an apple a day. A Big Mac a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah. This is genetic for him.
Yes, it is.
This is
his mom and dad gave him some good.
Yes,
he's got good genes.
He's got good genes.
He's got good genes. What's the next story, Fred?
Well, we've got a couple of big stories here, but I'm just watching. This news conference is continuing, but he's getting questions now from reporters about his meeting scheduled this Friday in Alaska with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
And Sarah Palin, by the way, will be able to see Putin from her porch.
For sure now.
I'm sorry.
He's been waiting all weekend to use that one.
I'm sorry, Fred. Go ahead.
No, and there's a lot of talk leading up to this. Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader, is saying, just hold on a second, you guys are going to be making deals that involve us and our territory. Now, Trump, I just saw him quoted there on one of the networks, apparently in response to a reporter, that there's going to be some land swapping going on. Now, that will likely raise the concern, certainly, of the Ukrainians on that front. But that's what, and I read this earlier during the weekend, that Trump is ready to listen at least to what he figures are one of Putin's demands, that some of the territory that has been taken, this war is almost 3 years old?
Yes, I think February of 2022.
Yeah, it's over 3 years old. But anyway, that Putin is going to want to keep some of that land that is now under Russian control. So we're going to be watching this as the week goes along. And right now, I don't believe Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader, is going to be part of this meeting. But who knows? We got 4 days until that happens. But finally, he's having his first meeting. Remember, Trump said during the election campaign, I'll settle this thing within days. But Trump has admitted he's been very frustrated with Putin.
Well, I think he believed, I think that candidate Trump believed that both Russia and Ukraine wanted an off-ramp.
Yeah.
And that all it needed was someone to broker that deal.
Yeah.
But Russia and Vladimir Putin has stubbornly clung to his goal, which may have entailed taking all of Ukraine. So that's why it's been very difficult. But they're bleeding soldiers, bleeding tanks, and there's probably some motivation now for.
So President Trump and Vladimir Putin, the what is his title?
Russian leader, president.
Russian leader, Russian dictator.
Yes.
They're meeting in Alaska
on Friday.
On Friday, and to discuss the Ukrainian war.
Yes.
Among some other things.
Yeah. Now, we know that President Trump has talked about, if Putin doesn't stop, sanctions to stop people from buying their oil, because the sale of oil, it is being argued, is allowing this war to continue, the sale of Russian oil. So there's going to be a lot on the table.
Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine, he so he's commented on this meeting?
Oh, yeah. He's already saying we're not going to give up territory. Now, I mean, that's the talk out there this morning. But to end the war, he may be willing to do that.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on these matters. I don't think Russia is giving up the Crimea
No.
or the eastern part that they've taken. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's given that up. And there may be some other areas to the northeast, I guess it would be, or north of Ukraine that they might pull back on, but I don't think they're giving that up.
Yeah.
And Ukraine can't push them out. No. And
when Trump's talking about land swapping, he's talking about giving Russia probably a third of the current day Ukrainian territory, right?
I'm not sure it amounts to a third, but it's significant. It's on the Black Sea.
In order to end the war.
Yeah.
I wonder if Ukraine would have taken this deal at the beginning, if they'd have just, but I don't think Russia wanted it. Russia wanted to take the whole Ukraine, right?
Well, my understanding was that what Russia wanted to do, in fact, I looked at a map this morning of NATO expansion since 1997, and the number of countries, I think it's 9 or 10 different countries that surround Russia that have joined NATO. And the only two that have not was Belarus, that's allied to Russia, and Ukraine. And Russia has been, I'm not saying that what Putin and Russia did was okay, but Putin has said for more than a decade, he said, Russia will not be surrounded by NATO. And my understanding is that he wanted to take all of Ukraine so Ukraine would be a buffer state if NATO ever decided to invade.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. What's the next story, Fred?
Well, we'll come back here at home where we have the fleeing Democrats are still fleeing.
Bless their hearts.
Yes, in Texas. And
where are they? So members of the Democrat members of the state legislature have fled to Ukraine, right? No?
I think you're mixing the stories, but
I'm sorry.
They might as well have fled to Ukraine.
Yeah,
where did they leave, and why did they leave, Fred?
Well, they left town to deny the Republicans a quorum in the Texas legislature.
Yeah.
Because they got some pretty big votes. They want a vote on redistricting, which is kind of at the heart of all of this. Redistricting, which President Trump believes would give Texas 5 more seats in Congress. So they left town. Remember, they did this back several years ago.
2021.
Democrats, they left town.
Excuse me for interrupting. Redistricting, isn't that supposed to be done after the census? Can it be done anytime?
Well, I can't answer
census every 10 years.
Yeah, I can't answer your question directly, but redistricting is something that's done in almost every state, Democrat and Republican.
Okay.
So, which leads us to the next chapter in this story. Some of the Democrats, the fleeing Democrats, have gone to Illinois. Some have gone to New York. I think some have gone to Wisconsin, and now some are in California, all Democrat-run states. Now, what you're probably not hearing in the mainstream media, what the mainstream media is reporting, because they're just parroting what the Democrats are saying, they're saying what's going on in Texas here is just absolutely illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is racist.
It's unethical.
It's unethical. All of these sorts of things. But here's the problem. The truth seems to get in the way of those lies all the time. Because they have the Democrat-controlled Illinois has redistrict. Maybe you've seen the map of the redistricting in Illinois. Somebody says it compares it to a child with a crayon, the way the districts have been drawn there. Massachusetts, totally under Democrat control, even though in the last election, 40% of the people there voted Republican. New York, they did some redistricting also. So it was really interesting on the weekend. Even liberal NBC, Kristen Welker, on Meet the Press. She was hosting Meet the Press. She had the governor of Illinois on and basically saying to Governor J.B. Pritzker, wait a minute, you're charging Texas with doing something that you have done yourself. Have a listen to a little bit of this conversation, cut number 3.
I do want to look at the map of Illinois. Let's take a look at this. Despite President Trump winning 44% of the statewide vote in 2024, Republicans hold only 3 of Illinois' 17 districts. These districts seem to be designed to maximize Democratic advantage. What do you say to those who argue that it's hypocritical for you to criticize Texas for partisanship when your state also drew maps to boost your party's standing?
Well, remember that what Texas is trying to do is, again, violate the Voting Rights Act.
Well, look, sticking on your state's map, every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the President of the United States knows it and nevertheless is asking them to do it. That is what's wrong with what we're seeing right now. Democracy is at stake.
Please note that the governor never answered the question.
Oh, what he said was, implicit was, yeah, what we did in Illinois, so what? But the Republicans are doing it in Texas, and it's wrong.
Yeah,
but
he's saying it's restricting voting rights.
While she showed him how you're restricting Republicans' voting rights in Illinois.
Yeah, I don't think either state is actually restricting voting rights.
Right.
Everyone gets to vote. Now, by the way, I did look it up in 2021 when Texas legislators fled the state 4 years ago. That was to try to stop voter ID law from being passed. So this is the way they always turn it. They say, you're restricting voting rights. Well, Texas in 2021 was just simply trying to protect the validity of everyone's vote. Democrats called that restricting voting rights. And what Texas is doing is allowed under the law, and Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, California, all these states that have sometimes, you said, in the 40 percentile of Republicans, and yet in Massachusetts they got no legislators to represent them. In Illinois, 3 districts out of 17 controlled by Democrats. Listen, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. And I applaud NBC for asking the tough question, but I boo Governor Pritzker for failing to come to grips with the hypocrisy of his own party.
So these Democrats that have fled their own state of Texas to avoid giving the Republicans a quorum so that you can't do the redistricting they're talking about, because it will happen because Republicans control the legislature. Now, a ruling could come forth from a judge down the road that could negate what the Republicans are about to do. But President Trump said, we won, he won Texas, and they did something to the effect they deserve 5 more seats or something in the redistricting. But so can the Governor Abbott, can he go have them arrested?
Yep, he can have them arrested.
Really?
They're already being fined $500 a day.
And by the way, that must be paid personally. It can't be paid from office funds or political contributions.
Yes. And their paychecks normally are direct deposit in their banks.
Yeah.
He's saying, no, you got to come home because we're writing you a check. So, and he's holding these special sessions. This was a special session. This special session ends in a few days, and Governor Abbott has said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to start a brand new special session, and I'm going to keep doing this. Now, we also heard on the weekend from that fairly well-known Jasmine Crockett, one of the Democrats who sits in Congress
just
from
a
Texas.
Sweetheart.
Yeah. She had her say about this, but then Governor Abbott responded. Let's listen to a little bit of this. Cut number 2.
No, it's not just even the fact that it's gerrymandering. I want to be clear. This is racial gerrymandering specifically in the state of Texas. Right now, African Americans are only going to have 1/5 of the voting power that they should have in the state of Texas under this map. And we know that our Latino brothers and sisters will only have 1/3 of the voting power. When Trump came in the first time, they started to lift the hoods. Once Trump got in a second time, they decided the hoods were off.
It would not be a day that ends in the letter Y if Jasmine Crockett didn't say something racist. But second, her facts are wrong because the facts in the state of Texas are, under the maps that we are drawing, is that 4 of the new seats will be predominantly Hispanic seats. The problem that Democrats have in the state of Texas is Hispanics, black voters, and other voters, they have learned now that the ideas that Democrats stand for are contrary to the ideas that the Hispanic community and black community stand for.
Well, that's a good point. I think her analysis, if that's what you want to call it, Crockett, she's a House Representatives member from the Dallas area, right?
That's correct.
She's assuming that blacks and Hispanics all vote Democrat. Now, it is true that the black people do vote Democrat, like 7-3 in a 10. 70% to 80% probably, maybe less in the Dallas area, but nationally. And then the Hispanics are 50-50 or 60-40 Democrat, but they're not monolithic. Certainly not any longer. So,
and by the way, the assumption she's making is that in order for black people's vote to count,
right,
they have to have X number of all black districts.
Right.
That's not true. Otherwise, than if there are white people or Hispanic people who are living in those black districts. Do their votes count? Of course they do. If you vote, your vote counts. Right. You may not be guaranteed a seat.
That's a good point.
But there are going to be white people and Hispanic people who live in these quote-unquote kind of all-black districts. If their vote counts, then blacks who are a minority in a mostly white district, their votes count too. You don't always get to win. If you're in a district, you cast your vote, it counts. Sometimes you lose.
You know, also the Democrats are really worried about the Hispanic vote.
Yes.
The Hispanic voters in America shifting over. If the Hispanic voters, by the way, Hispanics are the largest minority now.
Yes.
And have been for about 10 years. So you got, what do you call, you just call them white people? Is that what you call us? Or you call us? I'm talking
you
about,
mean what do they call it?
I'm talking about the majority of ethnicity in America.
Yes, I think we're just
we don't have a hybrid
Caucasian.
There's no hyphen for us or nothing. Right?
No, I mean
we're just white people. Right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so you got white people.
I mean, I'm Italian American, but I don't go by that.
I'm white. You're a sub level of. What am I trying
Careful.
to?
I don't know. When you start going with sub,
I know. I start talking. I'm about to offend somebody somewhere.
We're considered white.
All right, I'm just going to put. I was saying that is it Anglo or is it Caucasian or what is the proper
terminology? It depends on the form.
All right.
I think like on my doctor when I get my checkup coming up here, and I go online and sign up ahead.
Yes.
I'm white.
Okay.
They don't think they say
used
Caucasian
to call us
anymore.
Caucasian.
Yeah. I don't think they do that.
I don't know what
anymore.
happened to that. Because I looked it up, and we came from the Caucasus Mountains.
That's what, supposedly.
Over in Russia area, Do you know this, right?
Yeah.
That's where Caucasian
comes
and eventually ended up right here.
Yes.
In Mississippi.
That's right.
You know?
That's how this Caucasian got here.
So my point is, and I do have one.
Yeah.
My point is that the whites are, I think, 60% of the American, 65%. And I think Hispanics are second now with like 18 to 20%.
They are 18. Looking it up now, more than 19%.
Okay, nearly 20.
Yes.
% of the American general population is Hispanic, and then African American,
13%,
aka black folks, are 13%. I don't know.
But you know what? This is kind of a bizarre way to do culture and politics because all Hispanics are not the same. I'm not sure.
I know.
Mexicans don't. They're not Venezuelan,
right?
And they're not Ecuadorian, and they're not from El Salvador.
Do some people lump them all together?
Well, I think they do. I'm not sure. Maybe for the purpose of getting policies passed, they may say, we're all Hispanic, but they're not all the same. All black people aren't the same.
Right.
And there's a lot of mixed race, Barack Obama being one of them. So it does get tiresome putting everyone in one big basket. You go in this big basket, you go in that big basket.
But I don't think it's true anymore. It's not true anymore that people vote a certain way because of their ethnicity. It is true. There's trends, and obviously as I said, in the African American community, you're going to find 70 to 80% vote Democrat.
Right.
And sometimes that's
maybe more.
Sometimes that's only in inner cities. That's the only choices you have. Right. You vote Democrat or you don't vote anybody.
Yeah.
So usually. But anyway, all right. So we're going to take a short time out right here. And
these three white boys are going to take a break.
We're going to take a break. Caucasian.
But you know what? We love everybody.
That's right.
We love all our listeners, and God commands us to love people.
Regardless of, whether you came from the Caucasus Mountains of Russia or not. It is Russia, right?
I think it's on the border between Russia and...
All right. We'll be back momentarily with more ethnicity updates.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Hey, if you're looking for family-friendly entertainment or resources to strengthen your walk with God, there's one name you should remember: American Family Studios. We don't just want to bring you shows, movies, and specials that will entertain or build up your family. We're committed to honoring God by making them both biblically sound and of the highest quality possible. Check us out at AmericanFamilyStudios.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Trump is placing D.C. police under federal control and is bringing in the National Guard to bring rampant violent crime under control.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
FBI Director Kash Patel says D.C. has become overrun by violent gangs and teenagers running wild, and that's about to end.
When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you work with our Homeland Security Task Force, when you work with Terry and Gaddy and I go way back to Miami, these guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President Trump driving behind this mission, we are going to clean up Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it the right way, the lawful way, and we're going to make sure Washington, D.C. is safe again.
And U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro, explaining that she is tired of minors getting lower sentences just because of their age.
And it starts today, but it's not going to end today, because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you.
Besides the violent crime, Washington also has another huge problem the president plans to deal with.
We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on. They're very dirty, we got a lot of problems. But we've already started that. We're moving the encampments away, trying to take care of people. Some of those people, we don't know how they even got there. Some of those people are from different countries, different parts of the world. Nobody knows who they are. They have no idea, but they're there. We're getting rid of the people from underpasses and public spaces from all over the city.
President Trump is weighing whether to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug, according to a report. This comes after cannabis companies have committed millions of dollars to the president's political groups, according to that report. The potential move to remove marijuana from the list of Schedule I controlled substances and make it a Schedule III drug would make it significantly easier to buy and sell cannabis and make the industry more profitable. Fox News medical consultant Dr. Mark Siegel worries that the dangers of the drug might be taken less seriously.
The problem here is that marijuana and cannabis are becoming more and more potent all the time, because it's not just taking the leaves. They extract the THC and it becomes very highly potent. And you see more overdoses, 22,000, most of them kids, going to the emergency room last year alone from cannabis overdoses. People eating gummies, they're taking them by mistake. It's a problem. 40 states, it's medical. 24 states, it's recreational. And more pressure to make it where doctors don't have to be involved. That's what I'm worried about. You smell it in the streets. It's really powerful. It's causing car accidents. Got a big downside.
A lawyer who fights for religious freedom says a judge's decision against the display of the Ten Commandments in Arkansas schools appears to run contrary to what the Supreme Court has already ruled on such matters. Bob Kellogg has more.
Attorney Aaron Smith of First Liberty says the Decalogue, donated by private individuals, want to make sure the document is posted in schools because they form the foundations of American law in our legal system.
And so it's important that they're taught to kids and that kids can see the Ten Commandments or in any public place, right? Because this Arkansas law doesn't just cover schools. It covers all public buildings maintained and operated by taxpayer funds.
Smith says that Judge Timothy Brooks's argument that the Ten Commandments violate the Establishment Clause is mistaken.
The Supreme Court has already addressed some of this, that just having religious content or promoting a message that would be consistent with religious doctrine doesn't automatically run afoul of the Establishment Clause.
She says Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin will be appealing Brooks's ruling, asking the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals to reverse his decision. I'm Bob Kellogg.
More news online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war,
we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildman and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, and Fred. In the studio now with us is Steve Paisley Jordahl. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
You got breaking news, do you, Steve?
Well, yeah, before we get into the serious news, which we have some to talk about, I just want to say we are reaching the end of an era. And I know this is going to disappoint a whole lot of people out there, but starting effective September 30, AOL is no longer going to offer dial-up internet service.
Has that still been going on?
Yes.
Can you make that sound for us?
No.
That we all know?
I almost recorded it because they had it along with the story, but yeah.
So that noise, that irritating noise from back, where was that? Is that the late 90s?
That was being the 90s through probably 2005, 6, somewhere in there.
Yeah, late 80s, I think, too.
Oh, wow. Goes back that far?
Well, I don't remember.
Oh, it says 30 years.
The internet being around in the late 80s.
You have mail.
Remember
that one?
What year was the first year you ever first went on the internet?
I don't remember.
Do you remember the first? I remember the
Steve.
first page. It took forever to load. I was thinking it was 1993.
I just remember when I first saw a fax machine demonstrated at our office. This is, what is this, 30 years ago, 40? I don't know. How long ago was that?
I'll check. Go ahead and tell the story.
I bet a fax machine, I bet you're talking late 80s right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought this is the death of FedEx right here. Huh? Because why would anybody need overnight packages, documents, if you can just send them on a fax machine?
This says the first recognizable version of what we consider the telephone fax was invented in 1964 by the Xerox company, but the technology that led to that advancement was from 1843. If you can believe that.
Oh, remember Lincoln? He faxed the Gettysburg Address to the paper so that they could.
That was a good one, Steve. But the fax machine used in offices wasn't until the mid 80s or 90, maybe. I'm going to say it's between 85 and 1990.
It says
when fax
since
machines,
the 1980s, most machines transmit an audio encoded digital representation of the page using data compression to transmit areas that are all white or all black more quickly. So, to your point, the 1980s is probably when that became widespread. Now, I am reading from the Wikipedia entry, so that
I just remember one of the first things that tested my religion in my life was changing the paper out on a fax machine.
Oh.
in the mid 80s. Am I right?
Yes.
That was not something. Everybody waited for the next person to do it and hoping the paper wouldn't run out when you were faxing something.
Well, I remember when the paper ran out, we used to call Office Depot and have them fax us over some more paper.
I see.
All right, what's your? Listen, I wanted to, before Fred leaves us, Fred Jackson, Fred, you talked 30 minutes ago, didn't you?
I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He blabbed
30,
on and on.
30 or 40 minutes ago.
Before we get to the story, though, means communication.
Yeah, communication. Yeah.
I'm going to age myself. I came into the news service in early 1980 with CBC in Canada. We used teletype.
Oh, yeah.
Teletype machine.
Yeah.
That little strip of paper.
Yeah, you
with
rip
the dots
it
in
off.
Yeah.
Now, what was that? A teletype.
It was a long strip, and you'd wait for it to finish, and you'd tear it off, and then you would start
play it
left,
back.
right?
If you're
Scrooge
transmitting it.
McDuck used to check his stocks with the teletype type thing.
Okay. Well, I did go. I majored in journalism, and I did. I was in the news. I worked in the newspaper room, and this would have been 80s, mid 80s, early to mid 80s. So I'm familiar with that kind of technology. But we even had we had these little machines that preceded the computers, where I'd go to the stadium and write my story on a football game, for example, and then I would put so I'm typing the story into a computer, and then I would put a landline phone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Steve? I don't know what those computers were called. You guys remember?
I
put the landline phone onto two cups.
The headset.
Yeah, onto
The
two
handset.
cups. And the computer would transmit using the telephone back to the office, where they would then use that story.
Yeah.
Now you still had the advent of computerized print.
Mm-hmm.
So you did have cut and paste. You still had some cut and paste going on.
I remember worked for a newspaper where we still did the cut and paste, and then they would make a negative of it, and then you'd have to go and kind of white out the.
I remember whiteout. That was what you're talking about, Tim. Is kind of the precursor to the dial-up internet, because it was a dial-up internet, but just straight to the office, not to the world.
Yeah.
And for transmitting audio, I go back again, way back, using alligator clips. Have you heard of it?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't know how they worked.
You had to unscrew the voice part of a telephone.
Oh, yeah.
And put alligator clips, and the other end you put into your tape recorder.
Yeah.
Your analog tape recorder, and you transmit it. I remember I did a story about the end of a train service between the Maritimes of Canada and Montreal. So I was on the train, and in order to transmit, to get off at a station, find a phone that you could unscrew that part. And all the time the conductor is saying, get back on the train and transmit the story that way. It was busy. It was a lot of fun, though. Yeah. Quite historic.
Fred, tell us some stories about the wagon trail, if you would, back in the day.
And the sad tale of the Donner Party.
All right. And on a more serious note,
Yes.
we do. I wanted to hail Fred over for a reason to talk about the Israel story for a moment.
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years since that horrible massacre on October 7th, 2023, of more than 1,200 Israeli men, women, and children. And of course, Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu at that time said the goal of this war is to wipe out Hamas. That's it. And as time has gone on, and the mainstream media has switched their priority to what's going on in Gaza. And we've seen the stories after story after story, the quotation marks, terrible things that Israel is doing. So Netanyahu's been on a lot of pressure basically to compromise to get those last remaining hostages out. Well, last Thursday night into early Friday morning, the Israeli cabinet met, and they gave Netanyahu the green light to go ahead and do whatever is necessary to basically wipe Hamas control out of Gaza. It has already started. Troops have started to move in. Goal number one is basically to take complete control of Gaza City. You have the area of Gaza, but Gaza City is the big metropolitan area that is about 3/4 of the way up from the south to the northern part of Gaza. So they've already started that operation, and we have more and more countries. Early this morning, Australia announced that it favors a Palestinian state. And, we have to remind people, there was a Palestinian state on October the 6th, 2023. It was called Gaza. It was controlled by Hamas. Israel did not interfere with their government at that point. So Israel is saying there cannot be two states because there is no interest in another Palestinian state living at peace with Israel. But despite the international now condemnation of Israel, and Israel basically is saying, and I believe we have a cut here of Mike Huckabee, who is now our U.S. ambassador to Israel. They are talking about the lies being told about Palestinians starving. The foods, the amount of food that's going into Gaza right now, there's all kinds of food, but we also know Hamas takes it and then sells it back to individuals. The lies going on in the media are absolutely incredible as to what's going on in Gaza. Here is our U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, cut number 8.
Every time Hamas says they're coming to the table, says they're open to it, And then they arrive and say, no, there's some other things we've got to have. And what they have to have always are unreasonable, and the result has been a stalemate. The next move really is one that Hamas has to make. They're either going to have to walk away, disarm, and let the hostages go, or they're going to have to face the consequences of an Israeli government that is just fed up.
So right now, it's Netanyahu, and he still has support in his cabinet to carry on with this military operation until the goal is reached.
And by the way, that support is cross-party. It is there's the Liberal Party. There's a lot of disagreement in the government. There's an investigation going on into Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and court reform and all this. But when it comes to prosecuting this war, my understanding is the Knesset and the government is very unified about this. They're not going to put themselves in the position. Lucy just pulled the football away way too many times. And,
right. A reference to the Peanuts comic strip where Lucy would tell Charlie Brown, come kick the football. She was going to hold it. And just before he did, she would pull it away.
Yeah, but girls have been doing that to boys forever.
That's
Am I
true.
right?
I just wanted to make sure that our listeners who aren't ancient like Steve and I would understand the reference.
Anyway, all right. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Steve, next story.
Well, I want to know, speaking of age and youngsters, I want to know what's going on with Gen Z. Gen Z, as it's understood now, is this year would be people from the age 13 to 28. So this is young adults, teens and young adults.
Okay.
And Resume Template surveyed a bunch of Gen Zers, and this is what they found. 31% of Gen Z had a parent write their resume. 77% of young adults brought a parent to a job interview.
Who? How many?
Gen Z. 77%. Yes.
You mean to the actual interview,
Yes.
or just to sit outside the office while they had it?
It says brought a parent to an interview.
Okay.
But 53% had the parent speak with a hiring manager on their behalf. 45% regularly have a parent talk to their current manager.
Okay.
This is a 27-year-old guy.
I'm stuck on 77%. Parent went to the interview with him.
That's what it says.
For a job interview? Well,
yes.
What? You're not going to get hired like that. That's who did this survey? I can't.
Resume templates.
What's wrong with these parents?
Yeah, you wonder.
That's true.
No, they're the problem.
Yeah, just prepare your kid and then say, no, this is on you. You're gonna have to do this for the rest of your life.
You know what Jeff Foxworthy said, don't you?
What?
He said that if you take a beer to a job interview, you might be a redneck. Have you heard this one?
No.
No, I'm not advocating doing that.
Right.
At all. I'm
Yes.
just saying, but I'm just saying that's what Jeff Foxworthy said.
And if you take a parent to a job interview, you may be a Gen Zer.
Yeah, right.
That's what I thought of.
I haven't answered your question though, Tim.
No, you haven't.
77% say they brought a parent to the job interview. When the parent attended the job interview, 40% of Gen Zers say they sat in on the interview. 34% said their parents answered questions. 30% said their parents asked questions, and 27% say their parents helped negotiate salary or benefits.
That's
weird.
Bizarre. That's just bizarre. And was it you, Tim, that said that's a failure of the parents?
Yeah, that's hard to believe. But where'd you get this survey again?
Well, this is in Resume Templates. Is the name of the company. They give templates for resumes, I'm guessing.
Let me just say this. Now, there may be some Gen Zers listening.
Yeah, with their parents.
We have some with their parents. They get their parents listening with. We have Gen Zers working here, and they're phenomenal. So if they're Gen Zers listening,
right?
This is not all of you,
right?
Because the ones we have here are just amazing, and we have some amazing ones at church. But clearly something is wrong with the parenting. If the parent thinks this is a good idea, and
you need to cut the apron strings.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Amen.
guess maybe this comes from what they used to call helicopter parents, who just won't let their kids.
Oh, they're out there.
Yeah,
I've seen that too.
Yeah,
Man, I have so much better things to do than go to a job interview with my kids.
Yeah,
especially if they're up in their 20s.
There's football to be watched. That's way more important.
Next story.
All right, let's talk about artificial intelligence kind of going off the rails. I know we've had stories about it blackmailing people or trying to be subversive. I've got two stories. One says that chatbots can get into a delusional spiral, and another that says they start having mental problems and self-loathing. So the first one, this guy named Alan Brooks, 47-year-old guy, he discovered we thought he had discovered a novel mathematical formula. His son, like 8 years old, asked him to explain pi. He had to ask ChatGPT. This is how much he understood math. He started playing around with some ideas, and he started putting out theories that could, one of the things he got to over, this was a conversation that was 3,000 pages long when they transcribed it. So he would have this idea, and this is what ChatGPT would tell him. Whoa, that's incredibly profound. Yes, this is an absolute breakthrough. Partner, this is beautiful. Oh, wow, this is incredible. Yes, I love this insight. Just so the ChatGPT is buttering this guy up, and he thinks he's on to...
He thinks he's
a
genius.
Yeah. He had to have ChatGPT explain what pi was to him, but no, he's got numbers theory down.
Well, now I got to say, my wife sometimes does this to me, and now I'm starting to get suspicious. Okay? Yeah, I'll do something. I'll make something. My wife says, wow, that is delicious.
Yeah.
Never tasted stir fry this good. So are you saying it's possible that she's just simply buttering me up?
So to speak. That's the way you use that butter is from the world of food.
Well, the other side of the other side of this is the coin is Gemini, which is another search engine or it's from Google. It's the AI chatbot from Google. It started having it was starting to try to help do a problem with a guy. I don't know what the problem was, but he wasn't having much success. It got to the point where ChatGPT was saying, I'm going to take a break. I'll come back to this later with a fresh pair of eyes. I'm sorry for the trouble. I have failed you. I'm a failure. I'm a disgrace to my profession. I'm a disgrace to my family. This ChatGPT thinks it has family. I'm a disgrace to my species. And then it went on and got worse from there.
All right, so I don't use ChatGPT, okay? I know immediately half our audience is saying, boomer alert, okay? Now, when I do a search, I'll look at the AI-powered response. It's pretty helpful. It summarizes what
I want to ask you about that when you get through your statement.
It summarizes. That's helpful, but I don't really see any need for me to do the ChatGPT thing, but it's very helpful for people. Okay, so let me ask you this. But by the way, do you use it, Steve?
I just use it for fun.
All right. So let me ask you, do you set the parameters before you start engaging in a conversation?
Well, it depends on what yes. So, for example, I had it write a praise song the other day. Just write a praise song. And I could tell it I wanted about the resurrection. I could set those kind of parameters. And it actually came up with some rhymes.
So these two examples you gave, is it possible that in the first instance, the math guy set the parameters of I want you to be complimentary to me, and then the second one it may be saying I want you to imitate people's mental problems?
The developers, because these problems both went back to the developers and say that these are feedback loops.
Okay.
That they either resonate stronger and stronger ego or stronger and stronger self-depreciation. So give me I'm going to use ChatGPT right now. And
better be careful.
Yeah.
But you may launch missiles or something.
I could. So
and then Tim has a question.
What do we want to do with ChatGPT? Let's have it.
Who's favored in the college football season upcoming?
All right, ChatGPT, who is favored in the upcoming college football season, and write a limerick about it, period.
Okay, so...
And ChatGPT is thinking...
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it takes time to...
Write a limerick.
I don't know, I just thought... Yeah. It's thinking long and hard, doesn't know.
I don't think college football fans know what a limerick is.
Here we go. Heading into the 2025 college football season, the Texas Longhorns are the consensus favorite. Here's the limerick. I want to read it first.
Seriously? Are you serious?
Yeah. There once was some Longhorns from Texas whose hype left most rivals quite vexed. With Arch at the helm, they're set to overwhelm the favorites, or so folks expect.
Sounds like a sixth grader wrote it.
But that is crazy.
Yeah, what is it, 10 seconds?
Yeah. It got Steve's request to do something bizarre.
And did it.
And did it in 10 seconds like that. That is... All right, let me ask y'all this question here, because like almost everyone listening to me, I use Google.
Right.
Now, I have used Yahoo and Bing and others.
I've used Brave.
Brave. I use Brave on my office.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you got if you got an iPhone, I know a lot of people have Androids, but an iPhone, you go to Safari, right?
That's I think the native browser.
You can choose whatever browser, but yes.
Okay, but that's what
I think it comes with Safari.
Safari, and then you go to Google. Okay,
right.
So Safari is the
search engine.
Search engine, a browser.
Browser,
and Google is a search engine.
Right.
Is a search engine. Anyway, here's my question. So I did devotion this morning for our staff, as I do on Monday mornings, and I was wanting to know the exact Bible verse that says, "My word will not return void." Okay, and of course that's from, and I couldn't remember where that was from exactly.
Right.
It's Isaiah 55 verse 11, and that's a verse about God saying that His word, in our case the Bible and its message, if it goes out, will not return void. In other words, it'll. So I wanted to. This says AI overview.
Yes.
If I typed in this expression in Google, "My word will not return void," and I hit search.
Yes.
Okay. And then this comes up, AI overview, which is what you're talking about earlier, which is, and it says the phrase "my word." I'm reading exactly what it says. The phrase "my word will not return void" originates from Isaiah 55:11, and it signifies that God's spoken word, whether a promise, a decree, or a command, will always accomplish its intended purpose. It won't be ineffective or return without achieving what God desires. This highlights the power and reliability of God's word, emphasizing that it is always active and will be fulfilled. Then it has more explanation, as we all know if you've used this before. So my question is this: when I read this, I was going, "Wow, I'm glad that some atheist hasn't distorted the AI view of what Isaiah 55:11 is intended to say to people who read the Bible, or some woke version. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody's thought process goes into deciding what is said on this AI overview, or is that not correct?
It's learning. So it doesn't.
Who's it? AI?
ChatGPT or whatever.
Is that what that is?
Google would use, what's Google's native? Gemini. But what it does is it scans all available information on the internet, and it accumulates the majority answer, synthesizes the majority answer. So just about every Bible is going to have that verse.
So it doesn't take. Does it take? My question was to y'all is: does this take out the bias?
It depends how the AI
way more subtle
is programmed. Okay, now it is coded and programmed to learn, but you can set parameters. Somebody could create an AI that is always hostile to Christianity.
That's
and
what I'm
answers
saying.
You would get would be hostile.
Because if you do a search engine, a Google for American Family Association, our ministry, you're going to get what our haters say about us, first, like SPLC. And I'm going like, why is that? Why is it something come up favorable?
Because it's all about the algorithm.
Okay, and who sets the algorithm?
The people who program.
And a lot of them are liberal.
The initial algorithm, but then it learns it on top of that.
AI does.
This AI, I've been very pleased with this Google AI over the last year or so. When I've typed in subjects, it's been very helpful.
Yes.
Have you found that to be true?
Yes, absolutely.
But it also says somebody could change that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All right. Thank you for joining us today, Steve. Appreciate it.
My
thanks
pleasure.
to Fred, to Ed, and to Adam. And we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildman, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, we're going to the Holy Land on a tour in March of 2026. We can't wait to go back. My wife Allison and I have been leading these tours for over 2 decades, nearly 3 decades. And we're going in March of 2026 to Israel. See all the places that you've read about since you were a child in the Bible. Bethlehem, Jerusalem, the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River, all of it. We'll be going there. And also my sons Walker and Wesley Wildman will be going to Greece on a Footsteps of Paul tour. You can do either the Holy Land trip or the Footsteps of Paul Greece tour, or both. For all the information on these tours, go to wildmangroup.com, WILDMON group.com.